Anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. You know, as cynical as this statement sounds, it's brutally close to the truth about my country, your country. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, has disclosed that more than 133 million Nigerians, representing some 63% of the population, is currently living in multidimensional poverty. You know, the phrase multidimensional is key here. You know, broken down, it means that 2 out of every 3 Nigerians are poor and therefore experience just over 1/4 of all possible deprivations in terms of health, education, living standards, and shocks. Overcoming poverty at this stage is not an act of charity, but an act of justice. We have a right to dignity and decent life. Don't you think so, Aki? Adekunle.
I do. I think so. I think so. And I think those in power now and those struggling to take over from them, I pray they read this report because there's a difference between monetary poverty and multi-dimensional poverty. So when you look at monetary poverty, which is easier, it's lower it's lower in Nigeria than multi-dimensional poverty. I think monetary poverty should be around 43 or 42 thereabout. But when you talk about multi-dimensionality of poverty in Nigeria, it's over 60%. And in your intro, you even explain it, or I don't need to define it. You see people, you know, the bulk of Nigerians, cooking with, charcoal, cooking with firewood, cooking with. There are so many sort of clean energy. When you look at the bulk of people, live in the rural areas. So poverty is bigger. I think about 73 in the rural areas.
Percent.
Yes, in the rural areas. When you talk about multi-dimensional, poverty, when you look at the report very well, the poorest states, the poorest segments of Nigeria are in the north. Places like Sokoto, like Kebbi, like Jigawa, like Yobe, Gombe, and so on. They are extremely poor as in terms of multidimensionality, aspect, as high as 90-something% of the people. So we have the lowest in terms of multidimensional poverty. We have the lowest in places like Ondo. So when you look at this, I believe this is one report that those in government now, because they still have some time to do certain things and change certain things. Nigerians have never been this hungry in the history of Nigeria. Nigerians have never been this poor. Things have never been this tough. So when you look at the hunger on the streets of Nigeria, when you look at the state of hunger, state of poverty, you don't need NBS to tell us. We know because we live among the people. We walk the streets. We see what is happening.
Yeah.
You see hunger. You see anger on the faces of
I'm
Nigeria.
sure Ibn Ebo remembers the street song. Now poor, I poor, and no grace. Poverty, when it is deep-seated, it touches you and you are helpless.
It drives you crazy. Let's look at a scenario. A man goes out in the morning. He doesn't even have a decent home. He goes out to look for a means of, maybe he's a daily earner. There's nothing for him that day. He didn't leave a kobo in the house for his children. And he comes back home, empty pocket. No. How do you think he's going to reason? You think he wants to listen to you or to me?
There's a story of the man who came back in the afternoon and the children started addressing him as uncle. They said, no, I'm not your uncle, I'm your father. But they said, our papa don't go work. They don't know say they don't sack the man.
People are really suffering. I've always said this. I said, I asked someone something. They said, change is inevitable.
Yeah.
So our own change, is it getting better or getting worse? Because since over 36 years ago that that SAP was introduced, the economy started falling, and it is still falling.
You remember Vision 2020?
It was
us,
like,
to
yes.
us in the 80s, it was a far-flung.
Exactly. It was like 2020. That is far.
Yeah.
And now we are in 2022. And we are still singing the same song.
2050.
People are suffering. Oh. Sometimes you go sometimes when I drive past some places, you see these scavengers. They are not just, they are looking. I saw a lady works in a restaurant, and she was telling me about how she had to keep leftovers for some families to come and pick.
Oh dear.
And they are Nigerians. And they live in this country. And we are an oil-producing country. It's very disheartening.
Adekunle, it's about the choices we make as a people, as a country, as a polity.
I agree with you in totality. And we have an opportunity in the coming election. Whether we really love ourselves, or not.
We'll attempt to answer the question, but let's go on another commercial break. We'll be back. Please stay with us.